and welcome to Mystic Money. So today's pick a card reading will be who were you in a past life? So I have 4 piles here. If you like, I left the link to a random number generator to help you pick a pile, or you can pause the video right now, reflect on the cards and see which pile calls out to you. Or you can also leave a comment below which pile is intended for me, and I'll choose a pile for you. Either way, we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, pile number 1. Who were you in a past life? So I pulled 9 of Cups reverse, 10 of Cups reverse, 6 of Wands reverse, Knight of Cups reverse, 2 of Pentacles reverse, the Drowned or the Hanged Man, 4 of Cups reverse, and Justice reverse. So first thing I got was that you were definitely a dreamer in your past life. I feel like you had expectations that, compared to what the expectations of that time period were perceived as unattainable, unachievable, like you were a dreamer, while everyone else was focused on getting maybe a 9 to 5 or working a job. And I know it's the norm now to have a business and everybody has their own business, but back in the day, that kind of wasn't the norm. So it's like you kind of strayed from the norm of what like everyone else was doing. So for example, it's kind of like most women were stay-at-home moms. You were the type of person that wouldn't be a stay-at-home mom. You were trying to own your own business or do something that women weren't doing in that time period. So you were kind of ahead of your time in your past life. You also, your dreams, I feel like your dreams were so high, and you believed in them so much. I feel like it caused so much like disconnect, and it caused so much stress in your life with your loved ones and your family. With the 10 of Cups reverse here, that already shows like a broken family. So I feel like I do see a lot of kids. I feel like you had a lot of siblings. I feel like I do see like abuse with your previous parents in your past life, like the mother and father getting into a lot of arguments, and also just like not really having that guidance and not really having like a role model growing up. I'm also getting that, it's not as if some people had like high expectations for you to begin with, but when you expressed your dreams and expressed the things that you were trying to do, it's almost like people kind of looked at you like as a joke, or like you didn't have a real job. I'm really getting like heavy musician vibes, like possibly you played an instrument and wanted to be in a band, maybe a jazz band that came up, or maybe a singer, something with musicians, something that a lot of people, something of the arts for sure, because that's coming up. And because of that, you dreamed on this, and your dream was like a major part of your life. I feel like, unfortunately, with the 6 of Wands reverse here, you never got that acknowledgement or the appreciation that you were aiming for. So even though that was something that you dreamed and wanted, I feel like you never was popular. You wanted to be a musician, or you wanted to do something of the arts, but it wasn't as if you actually made it and was successful. Unfortunately, in your past life, you actually weren't successful, and you didn't get that acknowledgement or appreciation from others for your art. So it was almost as if you did all of this, wanting and dreaming, and unfortunately for the time period, your expectations were unrealistic, and it's almost like you never got a chance to tell the naysayers that, like to prove the naysayers wrong, unfortunately. And then honestly, I feel like because during your life, I feel like you had periods, you definitely struggled a lot because you were trying to be a creator or be creative during a time period where it's just like that wasn't something that was heavily supported for you. And I feel like with the Knight of Cups reverse, that's showing like how you were towards people. I feel like you went through a lot of stress. I feel like you were emotional all the time. I feel like you were very reactive, very sensitive to what people said. I feel like you didn't really take critique and feedback. Well, I do feel like a lot of people tried to help you along the way, and there were a couple people who believed in your dreams. But, anytime they gave you any type of constructive criticism or feedback, you kind of were, you didn't respond to it, and you didn't actually facilitate their advice to help push your creative needs and make you actually be successful. You took constructive criticism and you took it as disrespect, or you confused the people that are actually supporting you and actually wanted you to do well, and confused them with the people that didn't believe in you. So you push a lot of people out of your circle. I see a lot of people that genuinely wanted you to succeed, but you were so stuck in your own ways and in your own bubble that you didn't allow them to be there for you, and you were really moody and you were really bitchy towards them because of that for some reason. With the Two of Pentacles reversed, like I said before, you were struggling. You didn't have a lot of money. You weren't that successful with your career. I see hotels, so you're probably living in hotels, living on people's couches, kind of like just living all over. And I'm also getting that your mother died when you were around 28, 29. Your mother passed away, and I feel like that was really hard for you. And I feel like it made you kind of look like, what am I doing with my life? You started to have this realization, what am I doing with my life? But the struggle definitely came from you trying to be a creator and trying to make art. And I feel like, especially with this hangman here, which is all about patience and suspension and being suspended in time, it's almost as if the years flown by and nothing was achieved and nothing was accomplished in this past life during this time period. Even when your mother passed away, nothing had happened, and you almost felt as if you had a moment where you were reflecting on the past and trying to figure out where did the time go, and it's just very unfortunate. And then we have the Four of Cups reverse here too, which represents lost opportunities. And I feel like once your mother passed away, you really went into maybe a depression, or really went into just this funk, and it took you years to get out of it, and you didn't believe in yourself anymore. You started to believe the naysayers, and you let that consume you completely. I don't see a drug addiction or anything like that, but I do see alcohol, possible an alcoholic. But it was as if you played for this bar or something like that, just to get money here and there, but you weren't pursuing the dream to be successful in the same way that you were in the beginning. Your drive that you had and that motivation that you had was just completely crushed. Because honestly, I feel in a way, and maybe you realized that later on in that past life, was that a lot of this that you were doing was to prove, in a way, your mother was a driving force for a lot of it. I feel you wanted to prove her wrong, and I feel you wanted to do stuff for her and do stuff for your family and really become successful. So when she passed away before you got the chance to do that, I feel it really drove you to that dark place, and you were unable to completely dive yourself back into being a creative person again. Also, with the Four of Cups reverse, it represents being self-absorbed and being stubborn. So that's what I'm saying. You kind of were in this stubborn energy and just being so full of yourself to where you didn't realize that you were doing yourself more harm than good. And then we have the Justice reverse, which is just overall representing what all the cards are saying. Just this overall sense of unfairness, your life was unfair, and it being the final card, it's the card is saying it was just unfair. You weren't able to, you didn't make it, and that's something that never really gets talked about. People who do make it say, oh, you just have to believe this, that, and the other. But sometimes you can work your ass off, and sometimes you can be so fucking talented and you don't fucking make it, and your story is never told. And honestly, I feel like for you, for pile number one, unfortunately, your story was just never told, and you didn't reach that success that you were aiming for your whole life. We have a lot of, we have a lot of cups energy here, which is, but it's reversed. I feel like you were a man in this past life. Possible earth sign and air sign. What signs am I getting? Maybe an Aries, a Pisces, Capricorn, Taurus. Those could have been your sign. In a past life, I'm getting those signs. But yeah, you in a past life, being a creative and being a creator, was so integral part of your life. It was super important to you. You paid so much attention to your work. I see a lot of women, so I feel like you were talking to a lot of women, having sex with a lot of women. I don't see anyone. Okay, I heard Diana. So there was somebody significant in your life named Diana, that you were in love with, but it didn't work out. She remarried, she moved on with her life, and that didn't work out because of you and this musician dream, these pipe dreams. Well, that's what I'm getting, pipe dreams. Like, it was so much, and it ended up causing like this. It ended up making that relationship not work between you and her. But you did sleep with a lot of women. I do see a lot of women, but nothing like significant, just sexual partners. I don't see children. I don't think you had children in this past life at all. You were funny. I see a lot of laughter, You did make a lot of people laugh. And a lot of people really liked you. But yeah, a lot of people liked you. The people that you worked with like you, the people that you did shows with and stuff like that, like they liked you, like you weren't like hated or anything like that. And you made them laugh. I see cigarettes, smoking. I hear the name Johnny. Probably a close friend. But overall, your life was mostly focused on the arts and pushing something that, unfortunately for you in this past life, just was something that was just unrealistic at the time. And I feel like because of the arts, it swayed you from you weren't able to focus on other things that could be fulfilling in life. Unfortunately, you spent majority of your life on something that never paid off, especially with the Six of Wands reverse here. Like, you never got the acknowledgement and appreciation in the way that you wanted. You were acknowledged and appreciated where you were at, but like you wanted it at a bigger scale. And I feel like it was something that was completely out of control. Like I said, I just think it was the time period. Like, for example, now it's so like this is the time period for a lot of creators. Like 2021, 2020, like this generation, it's so many people that are able to express themselves creatively and get themselves on a platform. Everyone is pretty much able to succeed for the most part. But unfortunately, the time period that in your past life, that was not the norm. And I feel like it just wasn't the norm. I feel like you could have been Black in a past life, because I feel like it's something that was out of control, and you being Black kind of prevented you from succeeding as well. But yeah, and this might sound sad, but it was a past life, and there are clearly other things that happened in your life. Like I said, you made a lot of people laugh. You had friends. You had a fulfilling life overall. Your dream was never achieved the way that you wanted it to be achieved. So that's all I have for pile number one. This is who you are in a past life. If this gave you any clarity, any insight, anything, if you felt anything, comment your pile below. I really like some feedback. And please like, comment, subscribe, and share so your friends can see who they were in a past life. Thank you. Okay, pile number 2. Who were you in a past life? So I pulled the Nine of Pentacles, Knight of Wands reverse, Hierophant reverse, Ace of Cups reverse, Page of Wands, High Priestess reverse, and Queen of Cups reverse. So with the Nine of Pentacles, to me, that's representing basically your past life. You were pretty much at ease. Your financial status was really well. Your income was really well. You had a nice schedule. I'm seeing being pampered. I'm really getting like housewife energy from this for some reason. I feel like, you were probably a white woman in a past life, or just, that's just what I'm getting. But you were probably most likely a housewife, and your income and that feeling at ease was because you were married. I see 3 kids, and I just see the whole, your husband leaving for work, and, you being at ease because he was taking care of the financial status. So you didn't really have anything to worry about with the financial ease. You were being pampered. You were able to, do things. You were able to take care of yourself with the income that your husband was providing. So you never had like any real financial problems at all in your past life. And I don't think this just came from when you got married. I think that when you were younger in your past life, I feel like I wouldn't say you came from like just wealth, but your parents were established. They were middle class. They had money. You married a man who was making money. His people had money. So finances was never like an issue for you. I feel like you were completely unaware of like the financial problems that maybe other people were going through. I see that you did charity a lot, but it wasn't as if you were truly connected to the people that you did charity for. You didn't really fully have an understanding of what it meant to struggle. And I don't think you really had any empathy for the people that did struggle around you. I feel like, I see you having a lot of friends, a lot of women friends, and y'all were really close. Most of them were housewives too. Most of y'all had these conversations. You guys talked about, your day-to-day things, complaining, this, that, and the other. But just kind of like this unawareness of like what was going on around you. I feel like it was a lot of, I wouldn't say poverty around, where it was like you were in this bubble of middle class status life, and like there were other people living their lives and they weren't living that middle class status life. And I don't think you really cared about their lives, of course, but I just feel like you were kind of in this bubble of not really knowing that, not everyone had it as easy. It was as if, everything came to you easily when it came to money and finances. So you never really had to struggle when it came with things financially. Because of that, you probably have fluctuating financial problems in this life because you didn't have those problems in your past life. Also, I'm getting that, you didn't really have the understanding of like having to work hard for your money. So anything that you wanted in life, you kind of wanted it then and there. You didn't really want to work hard for it. You didn't have like this understanding of like, sometimes things take time. You could have been very impatient and like just very careless about your actions, not really thinking of how it could affect others. Kind of like self-absorbed and just only making decisions that like could benefit you or your family at the time. You were a really good housewife, but I feel like you had this moment right when your kids were around like 8 to 12. I feel like you had this moment where, you got tired of feeling confined to your home. Like with the Hierophant reversed, the upright Hierophant completely represents traditions, and with it being reversed, I feel like you kind of were starting to get in this mode of wanting to break the traditions of being a housewife. You kind of got tired of being a housewife, if that makes sense. And it wasn't as if you wanted to make your own money or do your own thing. It was just as if you really just wanted, you started to feel kind of like stir crazy, just being in the house all the time, take care of the kids all the time, kind of like doing the same thing over and over again kind of made you feel like, okay, well, I'm kind kind of tired of this. I really do feel like this, there was this independent mind about you and this independent mindset that like came to play for you. And I do see it being kind of some confrontations between you and your husband during this time because of it. And there was just a lot of like disagreements, but it was never you outright saying, okay, I'm tired of being a housewife or I'm tired of being in this home. It was more of you just expressing it with the things that you did. Like you wouldn't make meals the same. You wouldn't do your housewife duties the same. It's kind of like you started to rebel. You wouldn't clean up. You know, you kind of lacked in your mother's duties. You started to just really be like whatever about being a housewife. And I feel like that caused conflict between your husband because it's like he felt that you had an agreement. Like, okay, we have an agreement. I go to work, you do this. And it's like you didn't want to do that anymore. And you kind of was just like you felt like your husband was controlling you, or you were stuck in this place where you couldn't really do all the things that you wanted to do, and you rebelled in a sense of way towards your husband. And I feel that like you never truly you never really truly expressed that to him. And it just caused a lot of conflict. But I don't see a divorce. I feel like, you guys still stayed together. It was just more of like you had this moment where you really wasn't feeling the housewife thing anymore. And I feel like with the Ace of Cups reverse here, I feel like you were emotionally exhausted. And I feel like you released a lot of your emotions in different ways. A lot of outbursts, a lot of like, negative reactions to people that didn't deserve it. And just, I see a lot of crying, but I don't see anyone there with you crying. So I just feel like you cried a lot to yourself. You wrote in your diary, you expressed it in different ways. And then you had that moment like for a couple of years, and then you snap back out of it because you realize, what else are you going to do? You don't want to work. You didn't want to work. You didn't want to do anything that would go into actually being independent. So because of that, you basically just continue to go through this housewife journey. And with the Page of Wands here, I feel like deep down inside, you had like this need to be a free spirit. And I feel like you idolized the free spirit. So you kind of was, in a way you would, and I feel like it was during the time probably when, I think they're called flappers, like when women were starting to kind of step into being more independent. So you were seeing these women, and they were younger than you. You were probably in your 30s, and you're seeing these younger women. They're not getting married, and they weren't having children, and they were working and doing a lot of stuff, and you idolized it, like, oh, I could do that. That'll be really cool, and I wish I could have done that, and you idolized that like lifestyle, but you never actually pursued that lifestyle because you didn't really want to actually work. You were very content with not having to work. It was just more of an idolization. But that free spirit was inside of you. So probably in your current life right now, you're probably the opposite. I feel like in this current life, you're able to really be that free spirit. Most likely, if you pick pile number 2, you're not in a marriage or in anything that makes you really feel confined. You kind of like run away from confinement or anything. You probably have commitment issues because of being so heavily committed in your past life. And if you are in a relationship, commitment probably came up before you got together, or maybe you cheat, maybe you don't respect the relationship as much as you should. Or anytime you are in a relationship with someone, you find yourself having all of these difficulties that it's almost as if in this life, you're not supposed to be in a relationship for you're not supposed to be in a relationship. It's really not your goal in this lifetime. I'm not saying that you won't be in a relationship, but it's not something that you should be 100% pursuing because you already experienced that in this past life. And I also feel like, you kind of kept secrets from a lot of people, especially from your husband. You had I think you had dreams and stuff like that, but you just never pursued it. You just continued to be a mother, and you continued to be a wife. And it wasn't as if you felt any resentment towards it or anything like that. It's just you had all these emotions, and you just were very content on pretending as if everything was fine. You're very good at like keeping up appearances. I'm the happy wife. We are happy. We are happy. So that was kind of like the mode that you were in, specifically with this Queen of Cups reversed here. That this another indication, especially with the Ace of Cups reversed and Queen of Cups reversed. You were super emotional, but you didn't express that with everyone, especially with this High Priestess reverse as well. I feel like that shows you like writing in your diary, writing in your journal, expressing how you're feeling, but to yourself. You didn't really express it to other people that you were feeling somewhat trapped in your lifestyle, but you didn't feel like you weren't 100% sure how to get out of it, and you didn't really take any necessary steps to get out of it. You felt as if this was the way that life was supposed to be, so you didn't fight that. There's so much restriction with the Queen of Cups here as well, so just really feeling restricted from doing things that you felt like you could possibly do, but you just never did. You were a really good mother. You really did take care of your kids, and I feel like you probably drunk a lot, drunk a lot of alcohol and stuff like that. I feel like once your kids got older, I see you only being truly close to one. Like two of them really didn't. Weren't as close to you, but you were still supportive and a good mother to them. A lot of I do see sometimes, when you did confide those feelings to maybe another housewife, it was as if they treated you as if you were delusional, that like the things that you were thinking was like just so far-fetched, and it's almost as if it wasn't really like respected, or like your feelings so weren't respected in a way that you wanted it to be. So because of that, that's when the diary came to play. You started not to express how you truly felt about your housewife position. But I see that like pretty much being your life. You didn't really have any financial worries. You did have friends. You did have a social life. You did donate to charity. Like you guys had a good image, and you were really very hell-bent on like having a status and name, and the name of your family being like carried on and led on. Your children were fairly successful. They went on and did good things with their lives. So, nothing really negative happened in your life. You didn't really have any stressful moments, but it was always like this yearning and like urge to like be free, and you really weren't free. You were locked into something. So I feel like because of that, in your current life outside of relationships, I feel like freedom is super important to you in everything that you do. So you probably change jobs a lot. You probably don't stay at the same job. You probably quit jobs. You probably take on so many different hobbies. Like, 1 minute you're doing this, 1 minute you're playing the guitar, 1 minute you're singing, 1 minute, you're going to be an artist. You kind of like are all over the place when it comes to your career, and really like not 100% knowing what to do. But it's only because you were so locked in this past life. Now you have this life to be this free spirit that you wanted in that past life. But now you don't have like the control to just zone in on one thing and make that be the one thing that you do. Also in this past life, so I feel like you definitely were a woman in this past life, for sure. And I'm definitely feeling like, you were attractive, like very attractive. Like when you got a lot of attention just based off of your looks, and you definitely use your looks for your advantage. You use your looks to get your husband. Your childhood in your past life was still really good. Like you had a mother and father. You had two to three other siblings. It's kind of sketchy, and everything, like, it was no arguments. It was nothing that you saw. You had your own room. Like, it was there's just no struggle in this past life at all. The only real lesson was you learning how to not be so selfish and to realize that things come with time. So let's just zone in on this Knight of Wands reverse, because that's like calling out to me. This card specifically is showing that you as a person really struggled with understanding that things take time. And, and you just really didn't have a lot of patience in the way that you should have for a lot of things. And I think this is the reason why you weren't connected connected with two of your children because you didn't have as much patience as with them as the one child that you were connected with. And I feel like it was a lot of things where you could have been way more lenient and way more accepting of your children's ways. In a way, I do feel like you were jealous, at least of one of your children, probably a daughter, because they were doing like these free-spirited things that you didn't get to do, and you wanted to force them to do the same lifestyle that you did, become a housewife, even though you knew you weren't 100% happy with the housewife lifestyle. For some reason, you feel like as if you weren't happy and you had to do this, then your kids had to do this. So just kind of just being selfish. And then with this impatient carelessness, it was as if, you had this advantage and you had like this privilege, and you would use that privilege to your advantage when it came to other people. So if other people weren't at that advantage, instead of like having empathy and heart and being caring for them and like understanding of their situation, you would use that to hurt them, if that makes sense. So, if there's a case where, you cut someone in line and then, that person got mad at you and someone asks you what happened, you would lie and be like, oh no, they're, overreacting. Like you'll pull out the tears, the white woman tears. Like you really use your privilege to your advantage, like a white woman advantage. I'm really getting a white woman from this with all this privilege that's here. So overall, your life was pretty much middle class, housewife. A lot of things happen for you. And because of that, in this current life, you probably feel like the energy of the opposite. You're probably at a disadvantage in life. You're most likely a minority in this lifetime. And you're probably way more patient, and also learning how now in this lifetime, it's learning how it feels to not have like that financial advantage, but also having the freedom to do whatever you want, but not the privilege to get to the places that you want to be. So that's all I have for pile number 2. Hopefully they gave some insight and clarity in who you were in a past life. Please comment your pile, explaining if anything like stood out to you, and also like, comment, and share with your friends so they can see who they were in a past life. Thank you. Okay, pile number 3. Who were you in a past life? So I pulled the Queen of Wands, 7 of Pentacles reverse, Knight of Pentacles reverse, 10 of Pentacles reverse, the Wheel of Fortune, Page of Cups reverse, 8 of Wands reverse, the World, and 2 of Cups. So the first thing that I'm getting is that you were very opinionated. You had no problem telling people how you felt. And probably for the time period that you were in, that wasn't something that was like done as much. I also feel like you always spoke your mind no matter what. You always stood up for yourself, and you were always standing up for others. You were someone who was very probably the best descriptor for you during that time was being fierce, being dynamic, being strong. You were a leader. You had a leader mindset. You like to do things alone. And I also feel like, you were basically like the way that you were meant to lead, and you were meant to be in charge of something. You basically were in charge completely of your whole life. And I think this was even when you were a kid in your past life. I feel like even as a kid, you were very independent, that you could probably be left alone by your parents. Your parents could trust you with things that were for a bigger age group. Like you were doing things at like 7 or 8 that most 13, 14-year-olds can do. Just very like ahead of your time. You learn stuff super quickly. I feel like you were the only child in a past life. If in that case, if you pick pile number 3, you probably have a lot of siblings, or most likely have siblings. If you pick pile 3, because you were the only child in your past life. Also, I feel like when it came to your career, because I'm getting a lot of career vibe, a lot of things about career with this pile. I feel like you put a lot of effort into a career that ended up not working out for you. It was just a low return. Like you consistently put a lot of time and energy into something that didn't work out for you financially. I'm really getting the job profession as a writer. So you probably wrote short stories, poetry, books. But it wasn't, with this Seven of Pentacles reverse, it took a very long time before, it just took a really long time before, you saw any like financial gain from, the career of writing. So with your career in writing, so we got this Knight of Pentacles reverse here that represents like very boring, dry, dull energy. And with the Queen of Wands here, I don't feel like you were a dry, boring person, but I feel like honestly that your books were pretty boring. I think that the when it came to your career, like the books and stuff that you wrote, a lot of people didn't find it like entertaining or interesting. Whatever people were writing about during the time period that you were born, that you lived in, you were writing about stuff that people weren't interested in. So, for example, if it was like during the wartime and everybody's writing all these amazing historical pieces about the war and about war in general, you were writing romantic novels. Like you were writing stuff that people found boring for the time period. And that's probably why you didn't get as much return on like the finances aspect from writing. And then with this Ten of Pentacles reverse, we have just so many things that indicate not being financially stable with that. And it coming right after the career is basically saying like your writings, like you were probably most likely in debt. You definitely were not like super financially stable at all. And it feels like you kind of you never took really like 100% credit and like accountability for your books. Like you were so very like, and it goes back to that Queen of Wands energy, so independent and so into your mind and thinking that you know every single thing that you just could not think to just change subject matters when it came to your books at the time. So yeah, you definitely had like a good amount of time period where you didn't have that much money and your finances weren't that great, especially with all of these pentacles reversed. And I feel like it's like you had this lack of accountability. Then we have this Page of Cups reversed, and with that being here, it shows that your mood was kind of all over the place, but it also shows immaturity. And I feel like it's kind of leaning towards immaturity, especially with the Queen of Wands. So you're very independent and fierce, but at the same time, oh, by the way, I feel like you're a woman. I'm getting woman vibes from this pile. But yeah, you were very independent and very on your own and stuff like that. But at the same time, you're very immature with the aspect of like, okay, you have bills, you have responsibility to do. Yeah, you want to be a writer, but you can go and work at this place or do this and do that while you write. Instead of using writing as a hobby, you use writing to fund your life, which wasn't the most mature decision to make, especially during that time period. And also, oh, wow. Okay, it's all coming to me right now, especially with this Eight of Wands reverse. So with that, I feel like you were not seeing any success with your books for so long. I honestly feel like your late 30s and 40s is when, okay, so you lived, I'm getting 52. Maybe you passed away when you were 52. That's still really young. So your late 30s, early 40s is when, you were still writing. And it felt like, because the Eight of Wands reverse represents urgency. So you were in this rush to just get that hit book. And you finally had a really good book idea. And with the World here, you definitely ended up becoming very popular. Yes, one of your books became very popular, or maybe the books that you wrote in the past, maybe someone picked it up and like it became popular, all your old books. But either way, with the world here, which represents achievement and then completion, everything coming to a completion right after the Eight of Wands reverse. This is just indicating to me that right when you were like in this rush, like, oh, I need to get this done, I need to do this, it's like you did everything so fucking late. But you got your success late. I do see marriage, especially with this Two of Cups here. You got your success late. You had kids later in life. You did everything very late in life. So I think that's what the Eight of Wands reverse is indicating. Like, you had to rush things. Like, it felt like everything was rushed because you waited so long to do it. So you probably had kids at a later age. I'm getting one and a boy. And you did get married, but at a later age. Like, you did everything like in your 30s, and your success from your book didn't happen until you were late 30s, early 40s. But you did receive success for your books and your writing, and something with writing and journalism. Because I said books, but you could have been a journalist. Something with writing was involved with your career. Also, with the Wheel of Fortune here, to me, it shows like the turn of events. The Wheel of Fortune is right in between all of these pentacles reverse, and then it shows your emotional immaturity after. So to me, that shows how like the first half of your life was like the struggle, and then like the second half of your life, everything started to make sense, and everything started to kick forward and push you to get where you needed to be. So the Wheel of Fortune is just showing that like it was fate for you to be successful, but you had to go through this financial instability, and you had to go through this struggle period before you could make money off of your writings. It's like you had to know how it felt to write. It's like you needed to go through that. And damn, that just came to me. I think the book that made you successful was a book that was about hardship, about pain. You were able to really put pain into the book because you actually experienced that pain yourself. I'm not getting a lot of friends from you. I feel like you had like maybe, I feel like your friends was your family. You didn't have siblings, so you were really close to your mom and your dad, and then like with your husband and your own child. So you didn't really have like outside friends or anything like that, because you were kind of like, I don't want to say you were a bitch, but you just weren't like what the typical woman was during that time period. So you weren't as friendly. You kind of had like a man mindset, and you were a woman. And back then, that wasn't like the most attractive quality in a woman. And for a sign, I feel like you were probably a Capricorn, or a Sagittarius. And with the Two of Cups here, I know for a fact that like represents you getting married later in life, because it's like the last card of the pile, but it's also representing that like I feel like once you got married, the reason why everything kicked into drive for you is that your husband, like, you really actually took, you started, as you got older, you started to take your husband's words, and you took what he like advised you seriously. So he was able to advise you and help you with books, and that's why I feel like he was a very integral part of the success of your books. So all in all, your life was like, okay, you weren't like super financially, like you weren't wealthy or anything like that, but I don't want to say that you weren't broke, because you were broke for a good time period. You didn't have any drug or alcohol problems or anything like that. You really focused on your work. I'm getting a lot of work. You did run into problems with the law a lot, because law enforcement and stuff like that, because of your mouth. Your mouth was very fierce. You stood up for yourself in any situation or anything. So I do see some jail time. I do see like problems with the law, problems with law enforcement. And basically you kind of moved at your own path, but your biggest issue in life was like men always kind of trying to tell you what to do, and always trying to tell you what you were doing wrong. You didn't really like men, because you had a male mindset in a time period where that wasn't just like admired. And all in all, everything in your life balanced out once like the second half of your life. So like right after like 25 plus, probably like early 30s, everything started to balance out. So all in all, I tried to challenge like how do you passed away, but I couldn't get it. Something with the chest. That's all I'm getting. Like something with the chest. You died at 52. So all in all, hopefully this resonated with you. It gave you some clarity. That's all I have for who you were in a past life. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends so they can see who they were in a past life. Thank you. Okay, pile number 4. Who were you in a past life? So I pulled the Empress, 4 of Pentacles, Tower reverse, King of Pentacles, 7 of Wands, Death, and the Lovers reverse. So right off the bat, since we have the Empress here, looking at the cards, a lot of Pentacles. So you were most likely a woman in your past life, for sure, especially with this Empress card here. And you definitely had kids with this Empress card here too as well. Let me see. You were very attractive. And I feel like your attraction was an important part of your life. I'm really getting that with the Empress here. You really stepped into your femininity. You really knew how to use your feminine woes to get things out of men and to get things out of people. You were able to get things out of people even at a very early age. I feel like your father, I'm definitely getting like daddy's girl. Your dad did a lot for you. Like you could just pretty much get away with anything. And I feel like you kind of lived a life in your early life. You lived a life where you didn't really pay for your consequences. Like there were no consequences for your actions. So you kind of went through life not realizing that your actions can have consequences. You really just use your femininity for your advantage, but you also were someone who was very into nature. You really liked being outdoors. You probably gardened, but I'm getting not garden, but you paid attention to like you paid attention to nature and you paid attention to trees and flowers. Like if you were to take a walk, you would sit there and really embrace the flowers and smell the flowers. And you knew the different names of flowers. Like you knew stuff about life. You really liked animals too. You definitely had a pet. I see a couple dogs that you had in your lifetime for sure. You were very close to pets and dogs and stuff like that. So probably in your current life, you're probably the opposite way. I still feel like you probably have that in your current life too as well. But some people who pick this pile probably aren't really that fond of pets because you were so into that in your previous life. So with the 4 of Pentacles here, I feel like, you were actually really, really good with money. I wouldn't say that you were cheap. You just were really good at making sure you didn't spend your money. So it wasn't as if you were cheap. I feel like the men that you dated, like paid for pretty much everything. So it's like you had your own money, but you didn't really want to spend that money. You would spend the men that you talked to or dated or was with, or your dad, like you would use their money before you use their money. You were very well aware of how to keep your finances in stock and keep your finances and saved. And it was just pretty much you had an understanding of what financial status meant. So because of that, you weren't going to spend your money on like the expensive things. It's like, it was kind of like the phrase, why spend mine when I can spend yours? That's kind of like how you were when it came to finances. But you weren't struggling or anything like that. I'm not getting struggling from this pile. I feel like you were single for a really long time, especially with this Tower reversed here, which represents like being fearful of change. Like I feel like you enjoyed and embraced the single life. I don't think that like just how you were in control of your finances and control of your life, your biggest issue with men was that you didn't want anyone who wanted to control you. And because you were an attractive an attractive woman, men felt the need to control you. I'm getting a lot of your partners were very controlling, and they tried to, like, once they attained you, it's like they seen you as an object, they seen you as a prize, and you didn't want to be anyone's prize. You wanted to be loved and respected and understood that you were your own person. So anytime that a partner tried to control you or hinder you from being who you were, or try to like take away your attraction or try to make you feel insecure about yourself, then the relationship wouldn't work out. And I feel like because of that, you started to have like a lot of trust issues towards men, and just really like fearful of like being in a relationship or being committed in a relationship. So if you pick pile number 4, you're probably the opposite in this life, in this current life that you're in. So you probably really do take relationships seriously. But yeah, I'm seeing you being a very being very avoidant of like having a committed relationship with someone. With the King of Pentacles, I think this is indicating the person that you were married. Okay, sorry. I was channeling. You were married and you had 2 boys. I see them. And the King of Pentacles is indicating the husband that you married. With the King of Pentacles, this husband had a lot of money, like so much money where all the fear that you felt about a committed relationship just dwindled away. And honestly, this person also respected the fact that you were an attractive woman, and that caused attention, but they didn't try to like control you in that way. They let you be who you were, and they let you be secure. They didn't try to like push your insecurities, and this does feel like someone you were meant to be with. They had a lot of money, they had a lot of stuff, and I feel like, you guys are really made for each other. I just see a lot of bouncing back and forth with ideas and things. Like you were able to help your husband with his career and like push him to be better with his business and career. So he already had a lot of money when he met you, and then his money just doubled and tripled once you were able to give him the ideas. It's like you guys bounced off of each other and helped each other. And you had no problem being a housewife, because I'm not getting a job for you, but you were very like, even though you were a housewife, you weren't just a housewife. You helped your husband with pretty much everything. Like you were pretty much like his business partner, like an unpaid business partner, basically. Like you helped him with his career, whatever he was working on, you helped him with that. And you made sure all of the finances in the household were taken care of. You were really good with money. Like you could have been an accountant. It's just not something that you took up. With the 7 of Wands here, this is really showing how, you really stood up for... Okay, so you were a black woman. Sorry, I just got that. So you were a black woman. With the 7 of Wands here, I really feel like... I feel like you lived when you were like late 20s. Your late 20s was during the during the 80s. So that means you were probably, your previous life, you were born in the 60s. So, your late 20s was like the 80s, kind of like, the afros, this, that, and the other. And you were really, really big on organizing. Like, I definitely see organizing, like, especially with the 7 of Wands, standing your ground, protesting. You were always trying to, like fight for what mattered, like anything that was like an injustice towards black people or justice towards people, period. Like you were the person like, we should do something about this. And like you weren't afraid, like you were really you weren't afraid of like fighting for what you believed in. All of that fear that you had before you met your husband subsided. And I feel like, with you having 2 boys, that pushed you even more. It was, I feel like I kind of feel your energy from your past life. Like, I have 2 boys, and two young black boys are going to turn to black men, and they're going to have to deal with things. So I feel like that was another drive for you to like stand up for stuff and stand up for racism, and being a part of just like making sure everything is fair with the civil rights movement. Like all of that you were really into. Like you really, that was a big part of your life. I feel like you made sure that you instilled those values into your son's life. I see like heartbreak. You lost somebody. It wasn't your family. It was somebody like in your neighborhood, and they passed away. And I do feel like it was due to like a hate crime, like a racist crime, like like somebody really hurt them really badly. And I see your past life, your past person screaming and upset like this. This is indicated by the death. Because at first I thought that was you, but no, someone passed away when you were 32. And this really was a pivotal moment in your life, having to see that death up close like that. And I feel like you connected it to your two sons. And I see especially with the Lovers Reverse, that Lovers Reverse is like Gemini Reverse, which is Sagittarius. Yeah, you and your husband moved. You moved. And it's almost as if like you unfortunately thought that if you moved to better neighborhoods and got yourself out of like, basically it got to a point where your husband and your family made enough money for you to move to like a better neighborhood. And in your mind, you thought that in a better neighborhood that your boys would be protected and that you wouldn't have to deal with the racism and hatred that you dealt with from your previous neighborhood. So y'all moved after this incident happened when this person passed away due to violence. And, I feel like even in the new neighborhood, I feel like you kind of felt a lot of like guilt about moving. It's like you felt like you put the words exactly is like you turned your back on the movement. You turned your back on something that was important to you. But after that incident happened, it shook up your husband, it shook up you, and you felt like at the time it was the right time to do. But ever since y'all moved, ever since that move happened, it's like things weren't right. Like you didn't really feel like you had a purpose anymore. Like when you were doing the resistance and the movement and fighting for something bigger than yourself, once that was taken away from you, it felt like you kind of took your own purpose away from yourself. And it just was, everything wasn't really the same anymore. I feel like you passed at 48. It's really young. So you passed like, 16 years later after you experienced that thing. And I'm not sure what you passed away from. But either way, yeah, I feel like the later years in your life, it wasn't as aligned as you wanted it to be, because you weren't fighting, you weren't doing what you felt like your purpose was meant to do. But you were with the Empress here, this shows like motherhood. So you were a great mother, a great activist when you were an activist, and you did a lot for your community. And I feel like a lot of people liked you. Like wherever y'all moved to, you made friends. You were the type, to bake a pie for your neighbors, or start a neighborhood watch, things of that nature. So you were very friendly. But that was something that happened in your past life. That's all I'm getting from these cards. Thank you so much. If this gave you any insight or clarity, or if you feel like this resonates, please like, comment, subscribe, and share with friends so they can see who they were in a past life. Thank you.